Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is my pleasure to welcome you to Temple Emeth and to our Shabbat Morning Service. I welcome you here to the Rabbi Louis J. Siegel Sanctuary in Teaneck, New Jersey. If you're joining us on live stream this morning, I'd like to say welcome and Bruchim Habaim to you. Our Siddur this morning is Mishkan Tefillah, and so if you have a copy of Mishkan Tefillah at home, I invite you at this time to bring it to your screen or to your device so that you can be a full participant in today's service, following along with each and every song and prayer and page number from our service this morning. Also, if you're here in the sanctuary, I'd like to say Bruchim Habaim to you. You know where to find your copy of Mishkan Tefillah. It's right near your seat. And so I hope that you will also take advantage of the Siddur to be a full participant in the service today. Today is our annual B'nai Mitzvah Learner Service. It is an important part of the preparations our 5th, 6th, and 7th graders and their families do as they approach their B'nai Mitzvah in the coming months and years. The idea of this service is to have a B'nai Mitzvah service that is a little less formal and where the young people are a lot less nervous. We'll be able to talk a little bit about what's going on and even take a few questions along the way. To assist us with our service today are 7 members of our Emeth Teen Community Program. Each has agreed to have a part in the service. Except where specified, they will take turns fulfilling the role of the bar or bat mitzvah. As a group, they have prepared virtually everything we ask each bar or bat mitzvah to prepare. So though you will see several faces on the bima this morning, remember that they are taking turns playing the same role. This morning's service is meant to be an extension of what we learn in our religious school classrooms. So there we have tefillah using the untransliterated Mishkan Tefillah. So I'm going to ask our students and anyone else who would like an extra Hebrew challenge to take an untransliterated copy of the book from that shelf right there in front of the choir area. Before we begin the service, a couple of things happen with the bar or bat mitzvah behind the scenes. The first is that if they are wearing a talit, the talit is presented to them by a family member, and I teach them the blessing and how to put it on. Photography is allowed at the talit ceremony, and it makes for a nice photo op. Then, whether they wear a talit or not, they come to the cantor's office. We show them the little cantor's room, in case they need to use it right before the service starts, and then we give them their final pep talk before they walk out that door and have a seat right here for when I begin the service. You will notice that they sit there and do nothing for the first 10 minutes or so. This is an important time for them to take a few deep breaths and appreciate that, yes, this is their B'nai Mitzvah. At this time, I will make the announcement that I make at the beginning of each bar or bat mitzvah service. There is no photography allowed during our service, so you can put away your cameras and your phones. Also, please take a moment to make sure that your phone is turned off. In the past, cell phones have rung and disrupted an important part of the service, so you should know that at Temple Emeth, it is our custom to identify the owner of the offending cell phone, point at them, and laugh. Yay. So that joke, that's my favorite. I don't want to say never gets old, but I do want to say that joke is the cantor's favorite. And it never gets old with the new guests who've come to a bar bat mitzvah. Let's see. Oh, you don't want this to happen to you. And in fact, it did happen to me once, and my phone is still on. So I will set an example right now and turn my phone off. Finally, the last words of advice are especially apropos for a B'nai Mitzvah learner service. Don't whisper or chat with the person next to you. Instead, do your best to follow along in the Siddur and be a full participant in the service. This will help our teen volunteers do a great job playing the role of the B'nai Mitzvah and help you learn more about the service you are preparing for, which is what we are all hoping for this morning. The first of our teen volunteers is Iris. So I'm going to ask Iris to come on up and have a seat right there. And now we're ready to begin. So I invite everyone to turn in Mishkan Tefillah to page 192. Page 192, and Cantor Tillam will lead us in our opening song. Please join with us as we sing Matovu.
Matovu, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Matovu, Matovu. Adonai ahavti me'od beitecha u'mekom mishkan kvodecha v'ani eshtachaveh ve'echra evrecha lifnei Adonai usi ma tavu alecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael v'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim b'rav chesdecha Elohim b'rav chesdecha aneni be'emet yish'echa ma tavu alecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael mishkenotecha Yisrael.
We turn now to page 194, where we find the blessing that thanks God for the human body. It is followed immediately by the blessing on page 196, which thanks God for the soul. Because of body and soul combined within us, we are able, through a miracle of God, to function as human beings, and so we now acknowledge these miracles by reading together, beginning on 194. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar, umafli la'asot. We turn the page and read together. My God, the soul you have given me is pure. You created it, you shaped it, you breathed it into me, and you protect it within me. For as long as my soul is within me, I offer thanks to you, Adonai, my God, and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. Praised are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai, asher biado nefesh kol chai, veruach kol basar ish. We turn now to page 198, where we find the Nesim B'chol Yom, the blessings for our daily miracles. They are a series of short blessings. Each has a theme which can be found in the margin. And we join together now in these blessings beginning on page 198 and continuing on the next few even-numbered pages.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sechavivina le'avchin ben yom u'ben laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokev kefuvim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam amechlin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish harumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam anoten lo yaev kach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavir sheina meinai u'numa me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani bat chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara.
We We turn now to page 204, and we join together at the top of the page in the blessing for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel, may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Having offered the blessing for the study of Torah, we turn now to page 206, and we recite an excerpt of oral Torah from the Talmud in fulfillment of the blessing. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. We turn now to page 209. On page 209 is a section of the prayer book which is reserved only for younger siblings. If a bar bat mitzvah is the youngest in their family, then we just skip this. But we honor the fact that younger siblings make a lot of sacrifices during the bar bat mitzvah process because they're usually schlepped to a lot of lessons where they then have to sit in the hallway, or they are witness to a lot of planning that does not directly involve them. And so to honor the commitment that younger siblings make to this process, they get to read for our teachers. Usually the younger sibling comes to the first rehearsal, which is 10 days before the bar bat mitzvah, and they practice it for me on the bima. And as much as the words are important, I tell the younger siblings that equally as important is shaking my hand at the end like I'm their best friend in the world. It makes for a nice little moment. And sometimes younger siblings, depending on how old they are not quite tall enough to be seen by the congregation. And so I have this little tool called a two-step step stool. And part of the rehearsal is figuring out which of the two steps the younger sibling needs so that it's waiting for them when they come up. So there are about 10 lines of English which the younger sibling recites, and then to make it extra heartwarming, Cantor Tillam sings these same 10 lines in a musical piece by Debbie Friedman, which she has entitled Kaddish de Rabbanan. And so pretend like the younger sibling just did it, and we're ready to cue that song.
For our teachers and their students, and the students of the students, we ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen. And for those who study Torah here and everywhere, may they be blessed with all they need, and let us say Amen. We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen. We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen.
We continue on page 223. You shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and on earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and your dominion. Yours are strength and sovereignty, sanctity, grandeur, and glory always. We offer our devotion, open our hearts in acclamation. Baruch atah Adonai, el melech gadol batishbachot, el hahodaot adon haniflaot, habocher b'shirei zimra, melech elchei haolamim. Praised are you, sovereign of wonders, crowned in adoration, delighting in song. eternal majesty.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'almad yivarach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechan v'yomechan v'chayei t'chol beit Yisrael b'gala uvizman kariv v'yimmeru. Amen. Yehesh merabba mevarach le'olam olam me'olamaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitolal shemei d'kudesha b'richu leila min kol bechata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata tamiran me'alma v'immeru. Amen.
Please rise for the Baruch Hu. If you are able, page 226.
Baruch Hu et Adonai hamivorach. Baruch Adonai hamivorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvarei choshe, oseh shalom uvarei et hakol, hameir la'aretz v'ladarim alecha berachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam v'chochma asita mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha. Tit barach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, Ve'al me'orei or she'asita yefarucha sela, or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'niskei kulanu mehera le'oro. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer hame'orot.
Love your neighbor as yourself, you said. And light blinded, we saw that inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down in the centuries. Your light moving before us as we climbed, fell back and climbed again. Your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Okay.
Please be seated.
Okay, so the Ve'ahavta is, usually done by one student because most of our B'nai Mitzvah go one at a time. But we have had a couple of doubles in the last few months, and it might be that the students do it together if they have a double. So we're going to demonstrate that right now.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'otecha ve'hayu hadarim ha'ele asher Anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibartam bam B'shivtecha, b'yetecha, u'b'letecha, v'derech, u'b'shofecha, u'kumecha, u'shatam le'or al yadecha, v'hayu le'totafot b'ninecha, u'shavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'visharecha. Leman tizkeru, v'azitem et kol mitzvotai, V'tem kedoshim le'Elohehem. Ani Adonai Elohehem. Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lahem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohehem. Adonai Elohehem Emet. We continue on page 239.
Okay, here's your book back. Let's look at it all. You can start.
We read responsively on page 239. The eternal truth is that you alone are God and there is none else.
May the righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and exult in your justice.
Let them beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks.
Let nation not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war anymore.
You shall not hate your brother or your sister in your heart.
The stranger that sojourns with you shall be accepted as your equal, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
Why do you crush my people and oppress the poor? Asked God.
We know that the Eternal One defends the poor and upholds the rights of the needy.
Praise to God Most High.
Blessed is God, deserving of blessing.
Ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ay la la ya ay la 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 mi khamocha ba'elim Adonai mi khamocha nedar b'kodesh norati hilot osefele norati hilot osefele shira chadasha shibchu geulim l'shimcha asvatayim yachad kulam hodu ve'imlichu ve'ameru Adonai yimlach le'olam ba'ed Adonai yimlach le'olam ba'ed Tzur Yisrael Kulma be'ezrat Yisrael Uvdechinu mecha Yehuda v'Yisrael Go'aleni Adonai tzva'ot shemo Kedal Yisrael Baruch Ata Adonai Gal Yisrael.
Our service continues now on page 242 with the tefillah. Please rise if you are able for the tefillah.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha Adonai open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor ve'Anora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Konei Akol V'Zolchei Chasdei Avot ve'Imaot U'Mevi Gula Libnei V'neihem Leman Shemo Be'Avad Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch Ata Adonai Magen Avraham Vezrat Sarah Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei Akol Atarav Le'oshia Mashiv Aruach Umarid Agashem Mechokel Chayim Bechesed Mechayei Akol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofech Cholim Umatir Asurim Umikayem Emunata Lishenei Afar Michamocha Bagdurat Umida Melach Melech Memit Umikayeh Umatmiach Yeshua V'nemanata Lachayot HaKol Baruch Ata Adonai Mechayei Akol.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melech haaretz kivodo.
Adir Adirenu Adonai Adonenu, Ma'adir Shimcha b'chol haaretz.
Baruch kivod Adonai mimkama.
Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu, hu Yashmeinu brachamav le'enei kol chai, Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Yimaloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Zion, L'dor vador, Hallelujah. L'dor vador, L'dor vador, Nagid God lecha. L'dor vador, Nagid God lecha. Ulenetzach netzachim, Kedushata nakdish, V'shivach Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush, Le'olam, le'olam, va'ed. L'dor vador, Nagid God lecha. L'dor vador, Nagid God lecha. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. Our service continues on page 250. You'll notice that there are two Shabbat songs on page 250. And choosing one of these two songs is one of the several musical choices or conversations that you get to have with Cantor Tillam. So we're going to turn now to the cantor. She can describe a little bit more how the musical choices work.
Well, there are some pieces of the liturgy in our service where you get to choose what you like. And every family has a different tradition, grew up in different synagogues. Many of you grew up right here at Temple Emeth, but many of you or your parents came from other congregations where other melodies were popular. So I am more than happy to sing the melody that is meaningful for your family and will make your celebration more unique to you and your family. So if there are melodies that you really like, one of them is for Yismachu or Vishamru. One would be for Oseh Shalom. A lot of people grew up singing different versions of Oseh Shalom. There are many things like that that you can just let me know. I grew up here, and here's the melody that I like and my family likes. Would you sing that? And usually I'll say yes. You can't say, I want the traditional one. Your traditional is not my traditional. I grew up differently than you. So you must hum a few bars. That's the only way to do it. Hum a few bars. You don't have to do it in public, just in my office or over the phone so that I know what you're talking about, and usually I'll be able to figure out what melody you like. So for right now, Rabbi is going to do a
So
very
speaking of
fun and
musical
interesting-
choice, this
Yeah, go ahead.
congregation now has a choice of which Shabbat song we sing. If you look at page 250, the first one is Yismachu, and the second one is Vishamru, and we're going to sing one and only one, depending on the show of hands at this time. So, if you would like our next song to be Yismachu, please raise your hand. All in favor of Yismachu. 1, 2,
Wow.
3, 4, 5, 6.
More than usual. I'm impressed.
More than usual, but
Okay.
all those in favor of Vishamru,
Here we go.
raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Okay.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Okay.
So
wow.
still almost 3-1 in favor of Vishamru. So please join with us as we honor Shabbat in accordance with majority rule. And we join in singing Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, לדורותם ברית עולם. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Our next prayer is found on page 257. You'll notice that the bar or bat mitzvah got a little bit of a break in there between Micha Mocha and this point in the service. So a little chance to take a few deep breaths, get ready for the next part. And the next part is on page 257, so I always introduce that. And I mention that the bar bat mitzvah will be reading the English, and we have the honor at the end of each paragraph of responding with 3 Hebrew words which mean, we give thanks to you, modim anachnu lach.
For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations.
Modim anachnu lach.
For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons.
Modim anachnu lach.
For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements.
Modim anachnu lach.
For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression.
Modim anachnu lach.
For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared.
Modim anachnu lach.
For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, for who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom.
Modim anachnu lach.
For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose.
Modim anachnu lach.
We pray that we may not live by our fears but by our hopes, not by our words but by our deeds. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness. You are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov simcha unacha la'el lehodot.
I'm going to introduce you, but yes, I think so. Stand right here. So we've arrived at page 258, which is Sim Shalom. Most of our students do Sim Shalom in one of 3 ways. They might read it spoken voice in Hebrew. They might choose to sing it a cappella. But Rebecca has chosen the third of these 3 options, which is to sing Sim Shalom with accompaniment from Tom. So we continue now to Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, be'al kol Yisrael, be'al kol Yisrael amecha, barheinu yotzreinu kulanu ke'echad, be'or panecha, ki be'or panecha natatza lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, be'al kol Yisrael amecha, Torat hayim, be'achavat hesed ve'achavat hesed, Ustacha uvracha ve'rachamim ve'chayim b'shalom. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, chen v'hesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu be'al kol Yisrael amecha b'tov b'einecha levared et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שחר בשלומך שים שלום טובה וברכה חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. Can I go now? Did I say? Oh, where? Oh, Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Do I say like turn to the next page?
We continue now with silent prayer, which is also known as Tfilat Halev, the prayer of our hearts. Inspirational readings for Tfilat Halev are found on pages 260 and 261.
Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Well, part of it being a learner service is the chance to ask questions about what you've seen, or maybe something you were expecting to see that you didn't see so far in the service. Does anybody have a question about the B'nai Mitzvah service so far? Okay. We'll have another chance later. We continue now on page 363. Page 363 is the first page of the Torah service. Oh, I said you can use my book? Yeah. All right. Actually, I do want to say one thing. Before Thomas starts, so up until now, the only honor that we had was for the younger sibling to do for our teachers. And everything else that you saw a young person do on the bima was what the bar bat mitzvah would do at the service. Beginning with the Torah service, we begin honoring other members of the family. And so I will specify sometimes in advance, maybe sometimes right after it's happened, that this is the person playing the role of the bar bat mitzvah, and this person is an honored family member who is having an honor as part of the service. Okay, we're ready.
Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children who do not know it yet, who do not yet know it, hear that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God. We continue in the middle of the next page. Please rise.
Excellent. Okay, so you're going to take your book back, not mine.
Thank you.
There you go. Okay. So, yes, Rebecca and Tammy, come on up. So I've learned over the years that this ritual that you're about to witness is really unique to the Reform movement, this very visual and symbolic moment where the Torah is passed from generation to generation in the family. It is, of course, rehearsed. We don't ever ask anyone to hold the Torah and pass the Torah without practicing it first. And I then explain the significance of this ritual, that it goes back, at least symbolically, to Mount Sinai. Our ancestors accepted the Torah with the words, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will obey. And what we witness now is a continuation of this tradition of passing the Torah midor lador from generation to generation.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shema, Gadol Adonai Iti, Aniramimo, Shema Yachtav, Lecha Ve'ativeret Ve'anetzach Ve'ha'od Ki chol b'shamayim uva'aretz Ki chol b'shamayim uva'aretz Lecha Adonai ha'mamalacha Ve'amik naseh Lechol Rosh.
So two family members or two honorees are invited, chosen by the B'nai Mitzvah family, and invited to come undress the Torah. They can be any age and any religion, and to play the role of those honorees, Tammy's already here, and we also call upon Pauline Hecht. Please be seated. Okay, so it's, that's a good question. All right, so we're doing a switch of the B'nai Mitzvah. So Allegra's here for the next part. And then for the honorees, any honoree who is not a parent, we would shake their hand, hugs and kisses for the Bat Mitzvah, which is often a niece or a grandchild. And the honorees get to go sit down. And then the parent would stay, but you can sit down too. Okay. Okay, so then, once we've taken the Torah out of the ark, we've done a procession around the left side of the sanctuary, we've had two honorees come undress it, then we get a little introduction to the Torah portion. The idea being that some people who've gathered in the sanctuary might not know the background of the Torah portion, might not know that you can follow along. And did I give it back to you? You put it on the podium. Okay. So it couldn't have gone far. Some people who've gathered may not know that what's going on in the Torah, they'll need a little bit of background. Ta-da! I found it. Okay, so before we read a word out of the Torah, we want to make sure that everyone has the background, that they know what page number, that they have a little sense of what's going on in the service. And so the Bar Bat Mitzvah begins in English with that background.
This Torah portion, Ki Tisiah, tells the story of the golden calf. Moses is on Mount Sinai getting the 10 Commandments, and he has left his brother Aaron in charge of watching the Israelites while he is gone. When the people get nervous that Moses is never coming back, they turn against Aaron, who tells them to take off all their gold jewelry and bring it to him. Aaron casts the gold into a mold and creates the golden calf, which they immediately call their new god. When Moses finds out about this, he gets angry and destroys the 10 Commandments. Then in the section you are about to hear, he confronts Aaron. Aaron denies responsibility for creating the calf. He instead blames the people, saying that he hurled the gold into the fire and the calf just came out. You can follow along with the Torah portion at Exodus chapter 32, verse 21, which can be found in the large blue Torah commentaries here in the sanctuary on page 648, and in the revised Torah commentaries that some of you have at home on page 590. Once again, that's Exodus 32:21 on page 648, and at home on page 590.
So we had a last-minute assignment change, which I should explain. I'm going to read the Torah as if I were the bar mitzvah, not as if I were the rabbi, and which is nice because this year, not this portion, is the 40th anniversary of my bar mitzvah. So I'm old, and so it will get me in the mood for that big moment that is coming up in my life in a few months. But always at an actual Temple Emeth Bar Bat Mitzvah, the Bar Bat Mitzvah does all the Torah reading, and I feel like that would be important to say even if I were not standing in, because at some other congregations, sometimes other relatives will do some of the earlier aliyot, and they just make sure that the Bar Bat Mitzvah does the last aliyah. But here at Temple Emeth, the Bar Bat Mitzvah does all of the Hebrew reading out of the Torah at that service. The amount of Hebrew reading they do is between them and the cantor in the months leading up to the Bar Bat Mitzvah in terms of their Hebrew ability and their success in practicing when they are not in the cantor's office. And so there might be a variation in the number of aliyot, but the Bar Bat Mitzvah always does all of the Hebrew out of the Torah. Now, the other thing I want to mention at this time is that when the Bar Bat Mitzvah goes, they do the blessing themselves. And immediately prior to that, the cantor calls them out by their Hebrew name, which is a very lovely tradition. But what we are going to simulate right now in our B'nai Mitzvah Learner Service is one of perhaps several honored family members who would be called up for an aliyah. Maybe they're called up by their Hebrew name. That would only happen if their Hebrew name were submitted to me at least 10 days in advance. But they would always be called up by their English name, and they would come stand to the right of the Bar Bat Mitzvah. They would do the blessing. The Bar Bat Mitzvah would do the Torah. And that is what you are about to witness right now. And so for the honor of playing the role of an honored family member, I call upon Iris Pierce. Okay, Iris, let me find my
Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, benatan lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai notin haTorah.
Amen, Amen. Vayomer Moshe el Aharon, me'aseh lecha ha'am hazeh, ki heveta alav chata'a gedola. Vayomer Aharon, al yichar af Adonihi ata yadata et ha'am ki varoahu. Vayomru li aselanu Elohim ki yelchu lefanenu ki ze Moshe ha'ish asher ha'elanu me'eret Mitzrayim lo yadanu mahayalo. Va'omar lahem lemi zahav hitparaku va'itnu li va'ashlecha ba'esh va'yetze ha'egel hazeh.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch Ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Okay, and then we would shake hands, or depending on the relationship, have some other sign of affection between the honoree and the bar bat mitzvah. As I said, this would be one of the earlier ones, but it wouldn't be the last one. You'll always know the last one because the bar bat mitzvah will do those blessings on their own and have their parents standing right behind them. And then immediately after the last aliyah, that is when, are we doing this in this service? Yes, that is when a parent offers a blessing. So I'm going to invite Rebecca to come back up and be the bat mitzvah, and I'm going to invite Tammy to come back up and be the parent of the bat mitzvah. And if you want to see the three options for the blessings, those are on pages 380 and 381. And did you pick one out? Do you know which one you're doing? All right. Yeah, but it's just all okay. So we asked the bat mitzvah to hold the two handles of the Torah, and then you can. Is this 1, 2, or 3? Not that one. And then so we'll call upon them. The cantor and I sneak away because this should be a lovely moment just of immediate family members. But when the blessing is over, we join together in the Shechianu. So we're ready for the blessing.
May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your destiny be for worlds still to come. And may you trust in generations past and yet to be. May your heart be filled with intuition and your words be rich and understanding. May songs of praise ever be upon your tongue and your vision clarify a straight path before you. May your eyes shine with the light of the Torah and your face reflect the brightness of the heavens. May your lips ever speak wisdom and your fulfillment be in righteousness, even as you are ever yearn to hear the words of the Ancient One of Holiness.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shechayanu v'kimanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shechayanu v'kimanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh.
The next part of the service is the Mishaberach, which is found on page 371. In addition to taking names from the congregation, I always ask the B'nai Mitzvah family in my office a few days in advance if you have any loved ones in need of healing, and I'll add their names to a special list that I'll read only at this service. But now as we prepare for Mishaberach, if you are watching us on live stream and you're thinking of someone in need of healing, I invite you to share their name in the chat or comment section of the live stream platform. And here in the sanctuary, if you're thinking of anyone in need of healing, I invite you to share their name out loud or in your heart. The names of our temple members in need of healing and their loved ones will be shown on your screen as we join together now in singing the Mishaberach.
Mishaberach avotenu mikol habracha May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We continue with the lifting and dressing of the Torah. This is another chance for two honorees to come up. They are usually two different honorees, but this is a simulation. So I'm going to invite Tammy and Pauline up again to have this role. And so they come up. And usually, so Isaac is going to do this, but usually it is a parent who lifts the Torah. Sometimes parents have, health problems and they don't lift the Torah, so maybe it'll be an uncle or another very close member of the family. But it's usually mom or dad who lifts the Torah, and then I set up the honorees with the things they need, like the belt and the breastplate, and then when they're all set, please rise for Hagba and Galila.
V'zot Torah shesam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael, Asti Adonai b'yad Moshe, ayalai 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 ayalai
Please be seated. So we had another last-minute assignment change. So the cantor is going to chant the Haftarah, but as with our last assignment change, the cantor never actually chants the Haftarah to Bar Bat Mitzvah service. It's always the Bar Bat Mitzvah. Sometimes they work out in the cantor's office that it's going to be better for that student to do it in English. But before that happens, I always give a brief introduction to the Haftarah, which I will do right now. So the Haftarah. The Haftarah portion is always a short selection from one of the books of the prophets. Most of the time, the Haftarah is connected to a Torah portion, but sometimes it is connected to a time of year. And that's the case today. The Haftarah this Shabbat is called Parah, and it usually comes about 3 weeks before Passover. A major theme of Passover is ritual purity, and that is still true today. Just ask anyone who thoroughly cleans their kitchen to prepare for the holiday. The kind of purity the prophet is talking about, however, is the ritual purity and a spiritual purity. The most famous line from this portion is, "I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit into you. I will remove the heart of stone from your body and give you a heart of flesh." You can follow along as the cantor reads from the Haftarah, beginning at Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 22, which can be found in the large blue Torah commentary books on page 1651. Or if you're watching us on live stream and you have a revised Torah commentary at home, the same Haftarah can be found on page 1455. Once again, here in the sanctuary, it's 1651, and at home in the revised edition, it's page 1455. We continue now with the Haftarah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim, v'ratzav v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah, uv'Moshe avado, uv'Yisrael amo, uv'invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Lachen emor levet Yisrael kol amar Adonai Elohim la lema'anechem ani ose vet Yisrael ki im l'shem kodeshi asher chilalatem bagoyim asher batem sham v'kidashti et shmi agadol hamchulal bagoyim asher chilaltem b'tocham v'yad'u hagoyim ki ani Adonai ne'um Adonai Elohim bihi kodeshi v'achem le'einechem v'lakachti etchem min hagoyim v'kibatzti etchem mikol ha'aratzot v'heveti etchem el admatchem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol ha'olamim, tzadik b'chol adorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'oseh, ha'mdaber u'mkayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah ve'al avodah, ve'al hanvi'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatat lanu Adonai Eloheinu liktusha v'limnucha, lechavod ultifaret ala kol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umvarchim otach yitparach shimcha b'fi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh hashabbat.
Immediately following the Haftarah, we prepare for the second Hakafah, where the Bat Mitzvah is going to carry the Torah around the other half of the sanctuary. This time, it is not as ceremonious as the first time the Torah is passed to her. Please rise as we continue on page 374. Yahalalu et Shem Adonai ki niskav shemo levado.
Adal eretz v'shamayim v'yarem קרן לעמו, תהילה לכל חסידיו, לבני ישראל על קרבו. הללויה, הללויה. כי לקח טוב נתתי לכם, תורתי אל תעזובו. עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה, וטעמך מאושר דרכיה חינם, וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבני לאדוני אליך ונשובה. חדש חדש ימינו, חדש ימינו כקדם.
Please be seated. So this is the time in the service where we have an optional parent speech. Now that option has to be told to me in my office at the rehearsal about 10 days before. We recognize that writing a speech for some parents is very uplifting, and for other parents it is very burdensome. And so it is optional, but for those who choose to do it, it has to be around 300 words, and then I approve it in my office. I am not there to edit your most heartfelt thoughts about your child, but I am there to make sure it's not too long, and to make sure that it, complies with general Temple Emeth standards of decorum and good taste. So if that were happening, it would happen right now, and then immediately after the optional parent speech, the bar mitzvah gives his Devar Torah, and so Isaac has written a Devar Torah for this moment. Let's make sure I have all your pages here, Isaac. Oh, you have them. All right, so we'll let Isaac use the copy that he is holding in his hand, and so I'll move this out of the way, and come on up. So this is a key moment when the bar mitzvah is preparing to read, because I give two very, very important words of advice: slow and loud. We have technology to help you with loud, but we have nothing other than your own style to help you with slow. So Isaac, they're ready for your Devar Torah, slow and loud.
All right. In this portion, Aaron doesn't really take responsibility for his part in building the golden calf at the base of Mount Sinai while Moses was at the top. Though he confesses to being part of the making of the golden calf, he does not take full responsibility. Responsibility is a crucial part of life, and Judaism has many teachings on this topic. The Torah teaches Jews all over the world to take responsibility for their actions, most notably on Yom Kippur, the Day of Repentance. On this holiday, we reflect on the actions we have taken in the past year, and we believe that because we take responsibility for them, we are able to grow as a person and move forward. This tradition is especially close to me, as now that I am a Jewish adult, I will be fasting on Yom Kippur to be able to truly reflect throughout the day. The Torah portion relates to life today because I must now step up and take responsibility as a new bar mitzvah. As a Jewish adult, I can begin to expand my Jewish identity and be responsible for my own continuation in my studies. This idea expands farther than myself, though. As a congregation, we must all be responsible for not only ourselves and our own spirituality, but for those around us. We must look out and be responsible for others to create a Jewish community that can last from generation to generation. This lesson can be seen in this week's Torah portion. Although Aaron did not want to take responsibility for his actions, he was obligated to for the benefit of his community and the Jewish people at the base of Mount Sinai. As a new bar mitzvah, I look forward to becoming a more active member of the Jewish community. With this next step in my life, I plan on joining the teen community here at Temple Emeth and finding other opportunities I can meet Jewish teenagers to socialize and learn. I also look forward to reading the Torah on holidays and helping the younger members prepare for their B'nai Mitzvah. First off, I would like to thank Rabbi Serbiu for helping me write and revise this speech. I would also like to thank Cantor Tillam for helping to teach the Torah and Haftarah portions. Additionally, I would like to thank everybody who came to this special event from farther away. I am so glad you could take the time to be here for my bar mitzvah. And of course, a big thank you to my mother and father for driving us to all our lessons and supporting us along the entire way. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Okay, don't leave.
Oh, I'm not supposed to be here?
Right. So this was traditional bar mitzvah speech format where he talked about his idea, which was responsibility in Jewish tradition, how it relates to life today, how it relates to life today, the meaning of this day to him, and some thank yous. And so once he's done, he's going to step right over there, just turn to the, and then I look across the podium. We invented this during COVID because we have a little bit of social distance, but it's also a great shot of me to camera too. And then I will say, Mazel Tov to you. You did a fabulous job. You exceeded all of our expectations, and you've made your family very proud. I will acknowledge the members of the family in the congregation. Pixie, hey, Iris, woohoo! And then I will invite him to be blessed at the open ark. But for this B'nai Mitzvah Learner Service, I'd like to invite all of our participants to come up and be blessed at the open ark. Please rise. You want to sneak in for a blessing? All right. Don't be scared. The whole point of this, but the whole point of the service is that you will learn now, so you'll be less nervous later. All right. So there is a private whispered part of the blessing, and then there is the part that we say out loud. We double check in the rehearsal that you don't mind being touched on your shoulder. Do you mind being touched on your shoulder? All right, so here we go. May God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine down upon you, and may God be gracious to you. May God's Spirit lift you up, and may God give you shalom, the gift of peace, now and always. And let us say,
Amen. Mazel tov.
Okay, everybody but Brandon can go back to your seat. Please be seated. And now we call upon our board member, who today is Stephanie Stokes. Aren't you the board member today? Okay, come on up. So usually in a real service, they're given a whole script, but Stephanie, you get to do just the best part, which is to present the bag, which in this case is a fake bag I mean, it's a real bag, but it's holding not tissue paper and a Kiddush cup. It is holding a bunch of lollipops that our kids can enjoy. Okay, so Stephanie gets that same great shot to camera 2, right? A little bit more. Yes, camera 2, maybe camera. There you go. Okay, and so go ahead and wish him Mazel Tov, give him the bag.
Mazel Tov, and from the Board of Trustees and Temple Emeth family, congratulations.
Thank you.
Mazel Tov, and that's for you.
Okay, great. So Brandon, you're going to take your gift and sit down. Stephanie, it's not a real service, so we figured you'd give all the announcements anyway.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So.
Oh, I left mine.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
No,
all right.
Don't escape, Brandon.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, it's my pleasure to welcome you to Shabbat Morning Services. Tomorrow morning, March 12th, kids ages 5 and younger and their families are invited to Temple Emeth Museum for a morning of music, crafts, songs, stories, and a snack. Our Sunday Fun Day for preschoolers runs from 9:15 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. More information is available in the lobby. Invite your friends. Also on March 12th, join the Viewpoints Committee at 2 p.m. for a Zoom event with Dr. Edmond, a licensed clinical psychologist who integrates multiculturalism and feminism into her work. The program, co-sponsored by the Social Action Committee, will focus on celebrating differences and fostering inclusion. At the end of the month, Temple Emeth teens will be participating in Midnight Run, a food and clothing distribution program to help unhoused people in New York City. To make the effort successful, we ask your help with clothing donations by Thursday, March 23rd. Please donate men's used coats and jackets in good condition, sizes large and extra large preferred, new men's underwear in original packaging, sizes large and extra large preferred, and new socks in original packaging. Please bring items to the Social Action alcove in the Temple lobby. Temple Emeth members are invited to Temple Sinai on Saturday, April 1st for a collaborative Shabbaton, including congregation Ados Emuno. The morning program, beginning at 9 a.m., will feature study with Professor Jeffrey Rubenstein of NYU and a Shabbat service. Bagel breakfast and Kiddush lunch are free to those who register in advance. At 7:30 that evening, we'll enjoy a reading of As a Driven Leaf, adapted by for the stage by Rabbi Barry Schwartz and directed by Temple Emeth member Michael Bias. Temple Emeth members are invited to celebrate the second night of Passover with their friends and family on Thursday, April 6th. Once again, we'll host a community Seder here in the social hall. Registration forms can be found in the lobby and on the Temple website. Reservations are due by March 25th. I want to remind everyone that our Shabbat family service will be held on the second Friday of the month, not the first Friday as usual. Our service will be 1 week later than usual due to Passover, which begins on April 5th. Finally, the Shalach Manot Committee thanks everyone for the support of this year's campaign. The committee also wishes to apologize for a computer glitch that led to the omission of Dan and Wendy DeSantis' names from many cards. They are among several members who sent Purim greetings to the entire congregation, and their generosity is appreciated. Thank you to this morning's volunteers in the live stream control room. Michael and Gail Goldberg are at the controls this morning. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thanks, Stephanie. So at this point, I could give a couple of announcements on behalf of the family in terms of if there's any instructions on how to get to the reception or anything like that. What I'll mention right now is, first of all, several of the young people you saw on the Bima this morning will also be on the Bima again this Friday night because they participated in our RAC trip, our trip to the Religious Action Center in Washington, D.C., and they will be sharing some reflections on that trip this Friday night at 8 o'clock. And the service will be led by our 7th grade class, so that's something to look forward to. Also, I want to thank Amanda Eastman, who recruited all of our students and helped prepare them for their parts this morning, and Marion Wolf, our B'nai Mitzvah liaison, who is in contact with our B'nai Mitzvah students and their families to make sure that they're aware of all the requirements, including the service and many more, to help them get prepared for their own bar or bat mitzvah day. So as soon as the service is over, ETC, I want you to stick around for a photograph on the steps, and then we're going to go straight to the lounge for bagels. And any other questions right now about the B'nai Mitzvah service, or how you prepare for it, or anything you've seen? Okay, then we're going to continue at this time with the Aleinu. The Aleinu is found in your Siddur on page 586 at the bottom of the page. Please rise if you are able for the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latekru l'yotzer breshit shelo asanu kigoyei aratot velo samanu k'mishpchat adama shelo sam chalkeinu kahem v'gar aleinu kechal amonam v'anachnu kariim u'mishtachavim u'madim לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
We remain standing. One of the choices you have is which of the readings before the Mourner's Kaddish you would like me to read at your service. One of the more popular ones is reading number 7 on page 595, so I will offer that at this time. There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. I'm going to recite the temple names and the names from our Holocaust list. In addition, the Bar Bat Mitzvah family has the opportunity to submit names that are meaningful to them to be offered immediately before the Kaddish. We remember those for whom we are in the Shloshim 30-day period of mourning. Hetty Geller, a member of Temple Emeth and wife of Michael Geller, Ann Newman, a member of Temple Emeth, and Murray Schechter, uncle of Bill Grazel. We remember as well those whose yard sites occurred this week: Jack Antonoff, Clara Bine, Bertha B. Spiel, Florence Burke, Peter Berenson, Rosalie Bernstein, Sherman Block, Helen Block, Leah Shupak, George Cohen, Leah Cohen, Reuben Furziger, Jean Frent, Harris Garfinkel, Francis Greenberg, Ida Greenberg, Sigmund Gutman, Lillian Hart, Betty Helfman, Jean Hertz, Maury Morris Holtz, Judith Jacobs, Harold Katz, Seymour Kessler, Gabriel Kosakoff, Marvin Kraft, Molly Lerman, Ethel Levin, Abraham Miller, Morris Primus, Gilbert Rabin, Estelle Rare, Paula S. Richter, Kenneth Rostkowski, Dorothy Goldstein Schleifer, Albert Shapiro, Jack Schimmel, Fred Siegel, Jacob Seiner, Adele Sohn, Irving Sorofman, Rose Spielman, Bernard Starr, Frederick Fred Towers, Murray Wank, Ann Silver Wolinski, Rose Zadra, and Henrietta Zuckerman. We remember the names of 6 of the 6 million who perished in the Holocaust: Hilda Behrman, Josef Behrman, Joseph Bernstein, Semyon Bernstein, Fega Berenstein, and Boris Berenstein. We remember them all. We take them into our hearts with our own as we turn now to page 598. Please join me in the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agalav v'yizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivorach leolam ulalmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha b'rechu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata Amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba bin Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. The closing song is another one of those things that you can work out with the cantor, but one of our more popular closing songs is Shir Chadash. So on your behalf, I chose Shir Chadash, page 648. We join together in our closing song. Okay, you can sit down.
Shir Adonai kol haaretz, Shir Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shir Adonai kol haaretz, Shir Adonai, Shir Chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shir Adonai kol haaretz, Shir Adonai, Shir Chadash. Sing unto God a new song.
Okay, lift the Kiddush cup. Please rise for the Kiddush. Okay,
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen.
Amen. L'chaim.
Tovim.
Still not wine, thank God.
And we join together in the Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Well, as we conclude our service, I want to thank all of our ETC Mitzvah members for preparing these parts and participating. Brandon, Allegra, Rebecca, Iris, Isaac, Thomas, and Talia had to leave early because her father forgot to remind her about the service, and she had made other plans, so she left a little bit early. But thank you all for making this a wonderful service and a learning opportunity for everybody. If you've been watching us on live stream, we're about to conclude the service. It's your last chance to post something in the chat or comment section of the live stream platform. You can say Mazel Tov to this whole group, or if you have a favorite member, you can say Mazel Tov and Yasher Koach to them. But we conclude our service by turning to one another and saying Shabbat Shalom. Okay, ETC, come pose for a photograph.